hardest question I'm going to ask you. Tell everybody your name so that we all know who we're talking to.
Joseph Geronimo,
And just spell it for the record, too.
Joseph, Geronimo, Geronimo.
And Mr. Geronimo, you are related to Geronimo.
That's my great-grandfather.
Talk to us about the stories that you've heard about your great-grandfather, the people who you've grown up around, and the things that you've heard.
Well, I was fortunate to talk with a lot of the people that fought alongside him, the old warriors, both men and women, and I didn't know that they were famous people until I seen books of them as I got older, and I said, I know this person, and they told me lots of stories that about the conflict that took places and about how our old people and women and children were slaughtered by the cavalry, both from Mexico and the United States. And the only thing that my grandfather did was to protect his family and protect the land. This was paradise, and God gave us this land, and my people just wanted to live here in peace, and people came to start destroying everything. And when my grandfather was a young man, they had plenty of buffaloes and stuff like that. They ate those buffaloes when they harvested them, and they told us about all kinds of stuff like that. And they said my grandfather was a spiritual man. The whole Apaches are spiritual people. They believe in God, and when we had hardships, we prayed to God, and God gave us different things to help ourselves with. And even during the conflicts with the U.S. Army, my grandfather, they told about my grandfather, how he was being attacked as they were going through the White Sands area. And some cavalry, I think they were called the Buffalo Soldiers. I guess two groups of them were chasing them. And they ran the horses through the White Sands, and then they took the horseshoes off, because the horseshoes just helps get deeper into the sand. So they took the horseshoes off and got away. And they got on the other side of White Sands, and they ran the horses down. They were all tired, so they jumped off the horses and kept running. And they were way out in the desert. The cavalry was bearing down on them full speed. And the story goes that my grandfather told them all to sit down together. And they got in a tight circle, and he started singing. And as the cavalry was coming, they turned into a pack of dogs, and then they passed them, and they kept going. They kept turned back into the cavalry again, so they never saw them. They were out in the middle of the desert, wide open. But stories like that, that's how they kept getting away.
And those were the stories that you heard from the time you were a small boy, I guess.
Yes, I've heard them all my life, since the time I was born. We tell stories like this. These stories are handed down to us even as infants. We don't do baby talks to our children. We talk to them just like another adult, so that they will learn the correct way. And that's how I was taught. And everything in our life is sacred, even the little cradles that we have to keep the babies in. They represent everything in the universe, and it protects our children. And those we consider sacred. Everything in our life is sacred. We talk to the plants and the animals, even rocks. They give us the strength to overcome everything that we face in life. And one of the things that we're taught was to know our total environment, know everything in our life, know all the plants and animals, plus people that come into our country. Learn everything that you can about them. And that's one of the things that we try to pass on down. And to be a true Apache, a person needs to know the whole environment, know which plants are foods and medicine, and where the waters are, and where the different mountain ranges are. It's just for self-preservation.
So these are certainly things that your great-grandfather would have heard and would have been important to him. So this was really an invasion on his land and his paradise and his people. So he was viewed as a defender.
That's what we viewed him as, and I was told stories from other tribal members. Some of the elder ladies that seen him, he said that he was a sacred medicine man, and they would never dare look in his face when they see him coming. They look down or turn away because out of respect, and he respected everybody. He took some of the orphans that were whose parents were killed by the foreigners in our country, and he took them and raised them as his own. And even some of the old leaders, when they were the leaders before him, the well-known leaders, they called him and gave him a responsibility to watch over their children. And the old leaders, they fought alongside my grandfather for years because he was given that responsibility. He gave his word to protect them, and he fought alongside them. One of those was Naichi, and that family, that's where my kids come from. They're from the Naichi family and Cochise family. And my grandfather was responsible for looking after Naichi after his father Cochise passed away.
These don't sound like the actions of a terrorist.
Oh, well, if you invade someone's land and then they come after you, what do you call them? You call them a terrorist? You're the invader. That's one of the things that really upset me. What I heard on TV the last few days since they killed Osama bin Laden, they compared him to my grandfather. I was upset because that's a slap in the face of my family. There is no way that you can compare Osama bin Laden to my grandfather Geronimo. The better comparison would be between Osama bin Laden and Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States. Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States, he was responsible for the death of thousands of innocent women and children. He killed all those Indians and chased them out of the East Coast. And he's America's Hitler. So if they want to compare Osama bin Laden to anyone, they should compare him to Andrew Jackson.
There was a time, though, when some of his own people were made to feel differently about him, though.
They were scared after they were put on the reservation. The U.S. agents and armies and everybody that came around there wanted to put the blame on my grandfather for being put on the reservation. So they said that if Geronimo didn't fight us, you would still have your lands. And that's a lie. It happened to all the tribes across the United States. Everyone was put on reservations. Those lands were taken. But these so-called historians, they twist things around and make him look like a terrorist and make him sound like something that he's not. It's because these people have control of the news media. And unfortunately, some of them hide behind the name of professors, and that's terrible. We have no say about what they teach in the textbooks that say that my grandfather surrendered. That was a big lie. It was a truce. And the funny thing about that truce that took place was there was two interpreters. My grandfather was, whatever he said was interpreted by a Spanish guy that knew a little English to another white man that spoke a little Spanish. And then he translated to Crook and the other generals. So it's two times, and
Lost in translation.
You can tell what happens. A lot gets lost. and they became outright lies, and they blamed my grandfather for a lot of these things, and that's one of, I guess, mainstream America's ways of keeping our people down and keeping them down as third-class citizens. They don't want anyone to be thought of as a hero, anyone that stood in their ways. And of course, Geronimo, my grandfather, stood in the way of everybody. And he was one of the last ones to be fighting the U.S. Army. They had thousands after him, and they still couldn't catch him. And it was my own people that talked him out of it. The people that talked him out of fighting, one of them was named Martin. Those are my relatives.
Really?
And he didn't surrender to them. They spoke with him. I have a great uncle right now. His name is Ringling Martin. He's the grandson of Martin. And that family, they're all related to me.
Could you see how, if you put yourself in the 1870s and put yourself in the mindset of the average white person, the average Mexican, the average Spaniard, could you see how it would be possible for them to look at Geronimo as a killer, as a terrorist at that time?
Well, everything gets taken out of context, and they said there were hundreds, maybe even thousands of deaths that my grandfather was responsible. But the so-called professor from UNM, that idiot, he needs to take a look at the actual figures, and it was nowhere in the thousands, nowhere in the hundreds. It was very minimum. All of this outcry was just the more that the public outcries about my grandfather Geronimo, the more the army pays attention, and the politicians and bring the army in to get them out of the way, because this was paradise and everybody wanted it, and now they got it, and what are they doing? They're destroying it. He
was considered a threat at that time. He was a threat to what they wanted.
Yeah, he was completely a threat to. He was just in their way of destroying the land, and now the whole world's concerned about global warming and who's responsible for that. It's certainly not my tribe. It's one of the biggest industrial giants in the whole world. That's the United States. They're responsible for the global warming, and that's one of the reasons maybe God's punishing them for destroying paradise. And this is paradise. The Western Hemisphere was paradise, and people didn't know it, and they came and destroyed it. They're still trying to destroy it, and I hope there's enough chance for them to take a look at what's around them and stop. And God created the universe. Sometimes we wonder why God put us here on earth. It's for us to enjoy what the paradise He made for us, for all of us. We're God's children, all the Apache and your people, the Hispanics and the Anglos, they're God's children. And we need to remember that everybody's life is precious, and no one has any right to destroy people. And certainly any madman that goes out there and destroy people, he needs to be put away like a wild animal. We're taught in our Apache way that if we come across a rattlesnake, we don't kill it. We talk to it. Remember, when you come along, see one of my people, that I didn't bother you, I didn't hurt you. You don't hurt any of my people. And we leave it alone. But if that same rattler comes inside our house or gets real close to the house, we have no choice but to kill it.
Right.
It's to protect our children and our family. It's the same way we treat everything. We have respect for all life. God gave us the deer, the antelope, and different things, wild animals, for our food, but we still respect it.
How would you categorize, if you had to describe Osama bin Laden? We've spoken at length at how you would describe your great-grandfather. How would you describe bin Laden?
I don't know. I never met him. But all the accusations about him, we don't know how true it is. Uh, uh, there was a lot of killing going on in Africa at one time, and no one did a thing about it because there was no oil there in that country. I think it was Rwanda, I don't remember, but everybody ignored all the killings. But then all of a sudden, all this trouble in the Near East where all the oil is, and everybody gets all excited. They say it's for human rights and freedom. Is it really? Or is it just for the oil? I often wonder about that, and things get twisted around, so it's hard to believe. The people that own and control the news media, they're the wealthy people. And of course, whenever we speak out on things like this, we're a threat to them, so they'll edit things out like that, and they control it. But I don't know about, but if he's responsible for what was said, like 9/11, stuff like that, he's just a wild animal that needed to be put away too. When that happened, when 9/11 happened, my youngest son was real upset, and he wanted to go hunt him down, and I had to calm him down. We don't know for sure who actually did all of this, and at that time, they had Desert Storm, and my kids, his mom was out there in Desert Storm too, and my brother served 2 terms in Vietnam, and my father was in Normandy invasion, and it's a slap in the family's face for someone to compare Osama bin Laden with my grandfather Geronimo. My father was a direct descendant of Geronimo, my brother and I, and I don't know how to describe it. It gets me so angry, and I had family members that were texting me, some of Naichi and Cochise's descendants last night, and they were all upset too. They said that, I had a right to express my feelings, to let the public show that we have a right, and our name cannot be destroyed, our grandfather can't be put down. No matter what they say, my grandfather, how much they try to belittle him, they can't do anything. He's greater than any man that ever was, that walked this face of the earth. That's because he spoke to God directly, and God answered his prayers, and he helped, and he cured people that were sick. He came and helped them. That's passed on through the family, the knowledge that he had of the plants and animals and stuff to help us. We still have it. We still practice it. Tomorrow we have one of the rites of passage into womanhood for one of the young ladies in the tribe, and that's been going on since the beginning of time for our people. We still carry on stuff like that, and it's respect for life. And those people that come to our ceremonies, everybody's welcome. We have no enemies. It's just like we can't kill the animals when they go to water. Right. Everybody deserves to get water, and there's no enemies during our ceremonies. Everybody's welcome, and it's what we're taught. But we're also taught that if anyone attempts to hurt us, we have to do everything in our power to protect ourselves and our family.
Just like that little rattlesnake.
Yep. Somebody has to be killed. We have to be killed.
Geronimo's name is a name that's been used in the military for years. You had people jumping out of planes yelling, "Geronimo!" This is 100 years ago now. So if you know that this has kind of been a military reference for a while, I'm playing devil's advocate for a second. If you know this has been a military reference for a while, why does this have any more significance than when it's been used in the past?
Well, when I first heard it on TV, they said the code name for Osama bin Laden was Geronimo. And that's a great insult to the family. And then last night I heard another newscaster say that when they kill Osama bin Laden or capture him, the code name was Geronimo. So you hear two different stories now. So maybe the newscasters are changing things a little bit because people are upset. But yeah, that's wrong for them. I don't see nothing wrong with the paratroopers yelling Geronimo when they jump off the aircrafts, because my son, when he used to play as a little kid, we used to laugh at him because he used to say that he wasn't aware of it. But he plays with these little army figures and they jump off the coffee table. He pretends like they're parachute. He says Geronimo. And he wasn't aware that he was calling Grandpa's name.
So to you, that's a different reference. You
Yes.
know, it's totally, the significance is just inconsequential. It's one thing to jump out of a plane and shout a word. It's another thing to call someone who's accused of doing some acts. But I'm asking this because we had the professor saying this has been a word that's been used with the U.S. military for years and years and years.
Well, when the movies about my grandfather came out, one of them was called Geronimo, the American hero, America's hero. And he was more American than anybody else. If there's an American, it's Geronimo. But we're upset because when we first heard it, they used that name Geronimo for Osama bin Laden, and that's an insult. That's the worst thing you could say about anyone.
Today, does your family have more respect because of your direct line to your great-grandfather? How is your family viewed today?
I don't know. I meet people all over the country and here at home, and people are real respectful to me, and I appreciate that. And people give me hugs and wave to me, and whenever they need help, they come and see me, and I feel honored, and it's the way we're taught to help people, to help one another. And sometimes I wonder if I deserve all this kindness and things that people, the respect that they give me. And I've been asked from different places like the Border Patrol and different colleges, universities, and schools to go and to address some of those people, and I have before. And if my grandfather's a symbol that they need, I'm glad that they chose him, because he was a spiritual person, a real spiritual and holy person, and they wanted his power so bad that even the story about George Bush's grandfather and them desecrated the grave and stole something from there. They want his power so bad that they use his name and want to use his bones and everything. And then there's people coming out of the woodwork that claim that they have my grandfather's bow and arrows, and they have his rifles, and they claim all kinds of stuff. But well, I don't know about those people, but they're all looking for someone to give them the power and strength. And I think that they chose the right person, my grandfather, because if there's anything my grandfather gave me, it's the strength to protect my people and my traditional ways, the Apache ways, respect for everything and everybody in life. Well, I guess that movie had the right title, Geronimo, America's Hero, but at that time they sure didn't treat him like that.
Right. So you plan on continuing on his legacy and his teachings?
I don't plan on doing nothing. I just do what I'm taught, and It's just my teachers. From the time I was born, we were given certain responsibilities, and I have no choice in the matter. I taught the Apache language here at home and at the universities, Eastern New Mexico and New Mexico State, and I just do what I do, and it's not like I have a goal or a plan. It's just a responsibility that I have.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think is important to add? Is there anything you want people to know?
Well, they need to respect my people, all the Native Americans in the United States, North and South America. They need to respect us as people. Just because they don't understand us, that doesn't mean that we're wrong. There's no difference between us and other people. We believe in God. Some people call God by different names. They call him Buddha, Jesus, and all kinds of different names. But there's only one God. We just see him, call him different things. But we're the same as anybody else, and we have a right here on earth as anyone else, and we have a right to enjoy life on paradise as anyone else, and no one has any right to take it from us. And anthropologists, that's one thing that I don't like about anthropologists. They're nothing but licensed grave robbers, taking the things that our people have put away in other tribes, and they start digging them out and put them on display. That's wrong, disrespectful. They should leave things alone like that. Let it go back to Mother Earth and let it be. Leave things alone. That's it.
Do you have any questions, Dave?
Well, this is one of the dresses that my grandmother was wearing. It's the same style.
Yeah.
When they make their passage to womanhood, a ceremony is held for them, and this is the ceremonial dress.
So, like the ceremony we were talking about earlier, is this what the young lady will be wearing, or something similar to it?
Yeah, it'll be something similar. Call this the Cherakawa style, and those they have the semicircle things too. They're real handy. In fact, when my great grandmother and them were taken prisoners, they were wearing one of these moccasins, and they had a knife blade in there, and they had a knife blade in there, and they didn't know that they were hiding the knife blade, and they dug under the wall with that knife blade. That was at, yeah, and they made it all the way back here to Mescalero.
Hiding it in their moccasin.
Yeah. And when they were out, there's my grandmother.
There's your grandmother. I was just going to say, that's her.
And
I
they
knew
were
that.
talking about when they were harvesting, he was yelling to his men that I got two young girls in the back, so I have a knife in my moccasin. When we go around this curve, move over, so I'll stab him. So she took that, when they went around the curve, the sister sitting in the back stabbed the Comanche.
Wow.
And took his war bonnet, his jewelry, dumped him, and they took off with his horse, made it back.
And made it back.
And that's I think that's Naichi and his wife. That's my kids' great grandfather. One of the lances that they use. They also use the lance. In the later years, they took the spokes of the wagon wheels and used them for the spearheads.
Really?
Because they were made of hard oak.
Right.
Froze to death or anything.
What was the teepee made out of?
Heavy canvas.
Uh-huh.
Nowadays they make them out of that. They're good hunters. Even my daughter,
Yeah.
she's a bull hunter and speaking their own language, and
So were these prisoners of war?
Yeah, these are kids. They took the kids and separate them from their families. And we had hundreds of them die. And some of them did survive.
Because they weren't used to the disease. I mean,
Yeah.
and this here's your great-grandfather.
Yeah. And some people I hear on the news and everywhere that they say his Indian name was the one who yawns. That's a big joke.
The one who yawns?
We laugh about that. And his real name in Apache was not the one who yawns, but they just let that be. Because,
So can you tell us what his real name meant?
Gu Yan means the wise one.
Okay.
That was his Apache name, and I have relatives in San Carlos Apache Reservation, Arizona, who still use that name, Gu Yan. They're my relatives from San Carlos, Arizona. Well, you got everything there?
Yeah.
These nice records, it's not going to go anywhere.
Right. It's very possible. It's just one of those things that is outside of my hands.
Yeah,
So.
it was, I think 30 copies of their magazines, and they never did.
And you never got it? I will, I'll make sure that I get you.
Yeah,
I feel like if there's ever a time that they would break the rules, it would be for this, but I don't know what. It's a decision way over my head.
It'll be put away in maybe 50 years from now to open it.
Right, right.
I settled down a little bit.
Which is a good thing. It's a good thing. Yesterday you had very raw, real emotion. That's what she's about to do.
It's kind of funny when I went to see my wife graduate from Fort Jackson. We went all the way through the Deep South. You can tell their friends and relatives that they touched ended, and then they kept talking to me in the zoo for a while with my kids. And then there's some little kids in front of us. We were looking at the wildlife exhibit. There's 4 black kids, and then one turned around and his eyes just got all big. Look, there's an Indian there.
I mean, you're not being treated like a real person.
Yeah. And, well, in the Deep South, I felt real bad. I was in a big wreck. It hurted me. So, the nerve of them treating us like this and then them like that.
Right.
All different, but inside it's all the same. Those that my grandpa's wearing. I have it at home. It's only for ceremonies.